This is Undaunted.Life, a man's podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Let's get into it. All right, MARKWAYNE MULLIN, welcome back to the show. I will say I normally have goals for all my interviews, and those goals are for the mutual edification of not only my guests, but also the audience members that are listening to this episode. And you just told me off air that you're not in the best of moods, and so it is my job, it is incumbent upon me, MARKWAYNE, to get you into a good mood. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but that's my goal, okay? I just need to tell you that right from the jump.
Sometimes you fight agencies, and I fight agencies like anybody else, and the bureaucracy and the agencies just want, there's a reason why this is called a bubble, and there's no common sense that plays and no consistency at where it goes to. So for me, I'm just like, okay. Whatever.
Well, it's how it goes, and we all get to that point. And so I wish I had a nice segue into a fun topic, but as I was preparing for our time together, MARKWAYNE, I recognized that the last time you were on the show, this was before the first assassination attempt of Donald Trump. And since then, there has been another assassination attempt of Donald Trump. And after the first attempt of Donald Trump, where he was actually shot in the head, the Democrats pulled the old switcheroo. And they got rid of Joe Biden, and he's technically still the president, sort of, kind of, even though no one really knows exactly where he is or what he's doing at any moment in time. So I guess we kind of have to get caught up a little bit here, MARKWAYNE, to where it's just like, okay, he gets shot in the head, and it's out of the headlines in a week. And then he has another guy try to kill him again, and it's out of the headlines in a day or two. And so it's just like, I just don't know what kind of bizarro world we're living in right now, but I can tell you I'm not enjoying it. So give me your thoughts.
Well, I mean, first of all, we're in a 24-hour news cycle, so there's no way anything carries any length at it. I tell people, if you don't like where you're at politically, wait 24 hours. You'll have something else to either gripe at or get mad about, because that's all people are, and we're not happy about wherever we're at, period, when it comes to politics. But, I mean, the news cycle is what it is. I was surprised, actually, how much coverage the first assassination attempt got, and I think the only reason why it got that much coverage was because the FBI first came out and the president came out, and they wouldn't call it an assassination attempt. And then there was this whole thing was that it was it was glass that hit him. It wasn't actually the bullet. I mean, there was just like all this different stuff that came out, and it was a joke. And then you saw that the Secret Service was not being upfront on their lack of failures. And I tell people all the time, I've never fired anyone for making a mistake. I fire you when you can't admit you made a mistake, because if you can't admit you made a mistake, you're destined to do it again. Right. And now we have a second attempt, right? I asked during the investigation if they had SOPs, standard operating procedures, on, because every case is a little bit different. We understand that. But when you're talking about perimeter security and principal security, that's the SOPs are standard. I've been down there, done that work, was trained in that work. I understand exactly what it is. I mean, I could still pull out my SOPs from when I used to do advanced work, and I could walk you through it. Now, I'm sure that has been added to since I've been in it. I've been out of the game for 14 years, but I still have a binder that has a checklist in it that has SOPs all the way through it. And some of the stuff they lost were standard back then. Now we move forward to where we're at today. This was another failure on the Secret Service, and it doesn't matter if the local PD was supposed to do it or the county was supposed to do it. Who's running the operations? The AIC, the agent in charge. The agent in charge will be a Secret Service guy, and he's the one that's supposed to be overseeing the entire operation. And when you have a fence that's directly related to a road that public has access to, and you don't have it secured, you have no assets that's walking the perimeter, even a canine dog or just an individual that's walking the perimeter doing advanced work, because he'd been there for 12 hours, 12 hours. And he had his fence stuff hung on the fence that looking directly into the golf course. It wasn't like there was bushes that was covering up the fence. It was clear. You could see it. If you just did a perimeter walkthrough, you could have saw it. Not to mention there was the road that had access to this was a city block. So you could have had it covered with one vehicle. You could have definitely had it covered with two, and you don't have to keep it blocked off all the time. You could simply block it off when the president is on the golf course. I mean, you could put an SUV at each end. You could put a patrol car at each end. You could set somebody dead center of it and cover both directions. It's not that hard, but we still can't get that they had SOPs in place. And once again, if they can't admit they made a mistake, they're going to be destined to do it again. And right now, they haven't even said there was a failure on it. And now President Trump is very quick to praise the Secret Service because they have kept him alive, right? They've done that over and over again. But the fact that it's came this close twice, Kyle, it's just not acceptable. And I'm not this guy that goes down this conspiracy trail. It is not a conspiracy, right? This is what happens when the tension of politics gets so high. This is what happens when you have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries and then all these talk show hosts that's on these liberal media sites that come out and say that President Trump is which is the biggest threat to our democracy, when yet they're the ones that look like they throw democracy out the window and choose whoever they want, like putting Kamala Harris in place, who never got a vote ever and didn't even allow it to be a competitive primary because they were going to put Joe Biden in place. And then they all of a sudden that Joe Biden can't win, so they replace him real quick with Kamala Harris. And the reason why they replaced her with Kamala Harris is because they already had a war chest of money raised. And if she didn't do it, then they were going to have to refund all that money. And so they were going to start at zero on trying to raise money, and they didn't think they could catch it. That's the true story. And these are the people that saying that Donald Trump is the biggest threat to democracy. And people believe it. I mean, This guy that just tried to kill him, he was apologizing to the world because he wasn't able to do his job because of the threat his perceived threat that President Trump is a threat to democracy. And so it's the temperature that's been raised that's caused this. It's not the Secret Service that's in cahoots with the Democrat Party. I hear that story. That's not true. But they're not doing their job as an agency when they've allowed nearly 2 assassinations. I mean, one was just by the grace of God, missed his head and hit his ear, and the other one, the guy made a mistake because he put his barrel through the chain link fence. If he wouldn't have put his barrel through the chain link fence, they wouldn't have seen it. I mean, and there are simple assets too. I mean, you could have put a thermal drone up in the air, which is it's not that hard. I mean, we hunt hogs with a thermal drone at night. I mean, any of us that's ever done that, you can buy one online for literally less than a few $100s. And you could have easily spotted them even during the day. You could have actually seen the thermal resolution of the guy. Nothing. They had nothing over the golf course. I mean, I had a few speakers. I've had 2 speakers actually at a ranch hunting, and even when they're hunting, they have satellites that watch them in the deer stand. How do I know this? Because I've seen it. They set up operations in either our ranch office or my personal office there at the ranch, and they have images, and they want to know which stand he's going to, and they will literally watch the speaker. And this is the Speaker of the House. Literally watch the speaker all the way to the stand, watch them while they're in the stand, and then watch them come back. And you can see them. They didn't have satellite imagery on this, because they did. And this is a former president of the United States who's going to soon be the 47th president of the United States. If they even had that up in the air, they would have recognized him, because you can clearly see his spot where he was setting over by a bird's eye view.
Hey guys, real quick. Here recently, one of my family members was telling me about how they partnered with another family and they bought some beef from this local cattle producer. And when they got the beef, it was unbelievably terrible. And I can tell you this from experience, because they made me some beef ribs from that animal and they were terrible. And they even gave me some steaks and some ground, and it was basically inedible. I couldn't believe how bad it was. And they ended up finding out that the person killed an old bull or something like that, and just the meat was old and tough and awful. And that's just what happens when you don't have a quality cattle operation that you can trust to give you a quality beef product on the back end. And that's, guys, why I want to introduce you to the official beef delivery partner of Undaunted.Life, my friends at Primal Beef. So Primal Beef is a cattle operation owned and operated by Sean Glass. He's a retired Navy SEAL that has partnered with Jocko Willing to launch Primal Beef. So what makes Primal Beef different from some of these other cattle operations where you're going to end up getting bad beef? This operation is all American Black Angus cattle. The beef comes from one farm, and that's in Virginia's Shenandoah Valley. The beef is all natural, no hormones ever, no mRNA ever, no vaccines ever. And after slaughter, this is a big deal. The beef is dry aged, and then it's hand cut by artisan butchers and then flash frozen to ensure that it maintains tenderness, marbling, and flavor. And here's another great thing about it. For every box sold, Primal Beef donates meat directly to a member of America's Special Operations Forces through the C4 Foundation. So you can take pride in knowing that your purchase will help to put literal food on the table for America's finest warriors. If you're not salivating yet, it's probably because you're a communist. Don't be a communist. Try Primal Beef out today by going to www.primalbeef.com. That's primalbeef.com. Use the promo code Kyle, that's my first name, to get 10% off of your order. The great thing about that promo code is you can stack that on other deals as well and get all this money off. Again, that's primalbeef.com, promo code Kyle, that's Kyle, to get 10% off your order. Yeah, Mark Wayne, I appreciate all the detail on that, and that's the thing is the level of incompetence that you see here. So if it's not nefarious, right, it's a level of incompetence that's kind of hard to even describe. We even heard the story, I think the New York Post broke it, about a woman that left her post protecting Donald Trump so that she could go into a private room, which was supposed to be a staging room if something were to happen, and she's breastfeeding her child. And she also brought, guests of hers into there, and so she's literally not doing her express job, which is to be there to protect the former president. And so my next question kind of gets into this whole thing, and you kind of alluded to what your answer would be.
By the way, there wasn't anybody that replaced her post either.
Right. Yeah. Because that's the thing is
and I get that she needs to be a mother, and I totally respect that. But when you're leaving your post, someone should be replacing you. You don't abandon your post. That is rule 101.
Well, and maybe if you need to be a mother and if you need to be breastfeeding, one of the main parts of your gainful employment should not be potentially throwing your body in front of a bullet to save someone else's life. So just a thought. You don't have to mention
it. That's up to the person making that decision. But because you can be a mother, you can do all that, and you can still do your job. I don't have an issue with that, but you don't abandon your post, not unless you got the replacement there.
Yeah, and I certainly agree with that last sentiment. So let's talk about the election. So obviously Joe Biden was dead in the water. It was just going to absolutely be a tremendous trouncing that Donald Trump was going to do, especially post the first assassination attempt. But the Democrats, they pulled it off, man. Like, they did this debate super early. I think that they knew Biden was going to go out there and crap the bed so that they would have time before the convention to pull the switcheroo. Yep. Maybe not, maybe so. But they pull the switcheroo, and then all of a sudden, the least popular vice president of all time is just the freshest, most joyful, best candidate that we've ever seen. It's basically, Barack Obama, but with longer hair. And it's this amazing, amazing thing. And now when you look at polling, there's certain polling suggesting that she is going to do incredibly well and that she will comfortably win the White House. There's other polling suggesting that, hey, this is going to be a coin flip. This is going to come down to tens of thousands of votes in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, Nevada, Michigan, and maybe North Carolina and different things like that. Arizona is another state as well. But I got to tell you, Mark Wayne, I can't really get a read on this. But my guess, if I had to guess, gun to my head, I got to pick right. I would say, well, there's enough people in the deep state or in the DNC or in all these other areas that are going to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't get in and actually do the things that he didn't do the first time, which is to actually drain the swamp, which is to actually get rid of the deep state actors that are doing such nefarious things to the country. But it's just like, if they did steal the election last time, which they didn't allege in court, but if they did steal the election last time, what's stopping them from doing it now when they're actually in office? So what is your read of what we're going to see here in another 5-6 weeks?
I believe in America. I don't believe they're being doped or duped or whatever word you want to use by this new made person in Kamala Harris. I keep calling her out. The name is pronounced Kamala, like Kamala Harris. I think the American people can see right through that. I think the media is trying to, put this separate image on her that isn't. I mean, she can't be real. She has no foundation of actually who she is. She has history of who she really is, but not who this new person is. I mean, remember, she is the one in 2019 that said that her politics is to the left of Bernie Sanders. The left
And
of
she
Bernie
was.
Sanders is a communist. I mean, because
Yeah.
he's an open socialist, and you go left of that, that's where it leads you. Because Bernie openly says he's a socialist. He's openly said that for years. This isn't anything new. So to be the left to him, that's the next step of left is a communist. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to call her names. I'm just saying that that's where the left of Bernie is. So I think people will see through it. I think Donald Trump will win the race November 5th. It may not be called then, but I will say this is a prediction I guarantee will happen. It doesn't matter who wins. If Donald Trump wins or, God forbid, Kamala Harris wins, I know this for a fact. Both sides are going to cry foul and that the election was rigged. So it doesn't, both sides are going to say that. Now, going back, Kyle, I told you a year ago that they were going to replace Biden. I was very clear about that. I said that there's no way they're going to let him run. And leading up to the full cycle, I said they were going to replace him. Where I got it wrong was Hakeem Jeffries. I thought they would replace him with Hakeem Jeffries. I never thought for a second they would allow Kamala to become the presidential nominee for the Democrat Party. What I didn't take in consideration, and I didn't understand the rules of the war chest that Biden's campaign had, that was going to have to be refunded. I for some reason I thought that was more for the Democrat National Committee as a whole. I should have known better, but I just didn't think about that those dollars wouldn't be able to be transferred to the next presidential nominee. And so since her name was on the ticket, it could move forward. That made a big difference. I mean, that was the decision maker, because I can promise you, Kamala Harris was not everybody's first choice. There was a reason why that they didn't come out immediately and say that she's going to be our pick. They had to get all the facts straight too on what can actually be done with that money, because there was a lot of attorneys up here in Washington D.C. that was given a lot of advice of of trying to find ways that they could keep the money. And when they came out to the conclusion they couldn't, then they had to pick her. She was the only choice.
Well, the thing with her, they needed time to make sure the mainstream media got on board with the Democratic Party, but that they are essentially the exact same thing and they are aligned. And then, so I'm just curious for you, because you obviously seem very confident that Trump will win, and you said because you believe in the American people. But if you believe debates have any bearing on anything, obviously Donald Trump did a 3-on-1 debate, but he did not look great in the debate. And Kamala Harris, she has the best help that money can buy, because she actually looked human and she actually looked sentient and she actually looked like she knew a thing or two or had a personal philosophy when she was up there, whether or not that's true or not. And so, again, as excited as I am to vote for Donald Trump, and as much as I truly believe that he is the best and most appropriate next step for this country, I'm not nearly as confident as you. So, but I'm open to being swayed.
Well,
make me more
let me take a swing at that one for you. Right, we made a mistake by debating Joe Biden too early. We should have waited until after the convention. That way, they'd be stuck with him. Our mistake. They made a mistake by debating us too early again with Kamala. They weren't convinced on how well she was going to be able to do and how she was going to come across, because she is not a good debater. I mean, she's actually awful when she was running in 2020.
Oh yeah, Tulsi showed that.
Yeah, and so they were wanting to give time to recover, which is why they didn't agree to do any more debates moving forward. They wanted time for her to recover, because they know that they do it early September, that it's that's still pretty early. Most people aren't engaging until October for the November 5th election. Most people don't even engage until 2 weeks out. This is a little bit different. So what we saw is we did see a spike in her numbers and her favorabilities. They went up. But now she's been doing these other interviews, not really interviews, but setups. Like she's doing an interview this week on MSNBC. That's a complete setup. Oprah Winfrey was a complete setup. And she came across awful. And so the more she's out there and the more people are starting to see her for herself for what she's talked about in the past, her likabilities are actually going down now. And Trump's unfavorables rose a little bit, and we're starting to see them come down. So as you see her unfaves come down, you're seeing Trump's likabilities go up. Those are two indicating factors that you have to take into play. And that means that she's plateaued and she's never hit over 50%. She's actually the highest note she's ever got is 46%, I believe, if I'm remembering the poll right. I may be wrong. That may be high on that one. But she's never even got close to 50%. She hasn't been within the margin of error of 50%. So, and that was her, her, what's the word I'm looking for? That was her,
high watermark.
Yeah. High watermark.
Yeah.
And so you're plateauing, she plateaued, sure. She peaked too early. So all those factors are playing into what we're looking at down the road.
All right. Well, we have the same hard stop here in about 5 minutes. So let's transition
I got about 60 seconds. I got another one I got to run to. I'm sorry.
No. I'm going to ask you as many questions as I want. So how about that?
Sorry,
all right. So let's be efficient then.
Come over here. This guy right here, he's going. This guy right here.
Get out. That stupid pink tie. Hey, never trust a man in a pink tie and a dress shirt that's two different colors. Never trust it.
Actually,
never.
That is so true, Kyle.
I'm wasting my own time.
Retire the pink tie.
Hey, I'm wasting my own time here. All right. 2-part question to end here. Number 1, how do you feel about how the Senate shakes out? And number 2, did I put you in a better mood?
How do I feel about what?
How the Senate is going to shake out in November. So what do you think the Senate's going to be at? And, if you're not in a better mood, then I've failed miserably. So at least give me something there.
Okay. So 2, we're going to win the Senate. We're going to win West Virginia. We're going to win Montana. And I'm pretty sure we're going to win Ohio. And then we got Dave McCormick down in Pennsylvania that's killing it. Governor Hogan in Maryland. I don't know how that guy's still above water, but he is. He's doing a great job up there. We have Eric that's in Wisconsin that's doing a great job. Mike Rogers in Michigan that's doing a phenomenal job. And one that I'd like, and Kerry Lake is doing good in Arizona, but one that I would really like your audience to pay attention to is a guy named Sam Brown in Nevada. This guy is a true hero, burned over 80% of his body in Saudi Arabia. He was captain at the time. He met his wife at the burn center. She was also in the service. She's also a captain. She's just a beautiful lady with a no nonsense, don't give me excuse, show me results, but yet I still love you type individual. Power couple. He's doing really good in Nevada, but he's under-resourced. He's got a great campaign. He's got great people around him. Donald Trump is winning Nevada by 4 points, but Sam Brown's a little bit below that. And and people just aren't paying attention to it. And he needs resources. He actually needs money. And I never came here and asked for people to really look at this race, but look at his bio, see if it doesn't line up with you and your audience. And if it does, man, show him some love. Because the guy needs it. He's lacking the resources to win that race, but yet he's being outspent by 8-1.
Okay,
8-1, and the guy's still within 4 points. That's amazing because he works hard. He is absolutely a great guy that you all need to get to know.
So as you walk your way out of the room and follow the guy with the pink tie, are you at least in a better mood? Come on.
I'll be in a good mood tomorrow night when I get home and see my wife.
Okay, very good. We don't have to give any more detail than that. Mark Wayne, we'll see you next month.
All right, see you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Wherever you're listening to this, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a positive 5-star review. If you want me to come speak live at your event or on your podcast, just shoot me an email to info@Undaunted.Life. That's info@Undaunted.Life. Follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook, and check out our website for everything else, including how to donate to keep more content like this coming your way. Just go to www.Undaunted.Life. And as always, we want to thank the band Holy Name for allowing us to use their music for our content. The music on this podcast is their song Perpetua, which is off their self-titled debut album on Face Down Records. The links are in the description. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Remember, keep pushing back darkness, keep forging spiritual, mental, and physical resilience, keep seeking the Lion of Judah.